Well, at the time I lived in Birmingham in a back-to-back house with my mother and father and my elder sister. We had quite a comfortable life. There was a fish and chip shop at the back of us. Every time the chip machine started up, the goldfish jumped out of his bowl. But other than that, we had no problems. Didn't really understand much about the outbreak of war. Having had my sister with me was a great comfort. She was 3 years older than me. By the way, I was 6 when war broke out. We were good friends together, and our mother worked hard to give us a good life. I can remember being marched off to the station. We were given a bag with some goodies in, some arrowroot biscuits, a tin of condensed milk, and nothing very exciting, but it was, that to us then, it was quite exciting. And we got on the train. We went to Ross-on-Wye. Some of the children on the train were really naughty. The boys were swinging on the luggage racks and, you know, really being naughty. But we were all right. And I can't remember it being a long journey. But whether I went to sleep on the journey, I don't know. But we got there and we went to Village Hall. And people, there were quite a few grown-up people came and they were taking children away. Well, they took my sister, but they didn't take me. So you can imagine floods of tears. Anyway, someone came to me and asked me why I was crying, and I said that my sister had gone and I hadn't. And he put me in the car and drove around and found out where my sister was. And people agreed to take me too. But it was a huge house, overlooked the River Wye, huge grounds to it. There were quite a few, there were another 2 evacuees and also some relatives of the people that owned the house. Some had come from Gosport because, you know, being on the sea, it wasn't a good idea, was it? Anyway, we got up. Next morning we went out in the garden because it was September, so the weather was quite good. I went out in the garden and my sister, she was wandering off. I said, come back, that's someone else's garden. I couldn't believe that anyone could have a huge garden like that, you know, after coming from what we had. We had trouble sleeping at first because there was 4 of us in a bed. We had to sleep lengthwise. Well, widthwise in the bed, but we were all right. We settled in quite well, really, and we had lovely food because he was a market gardener. The woman's it was just the husband and wife who were the mother and father of the woman who was looking after us, the daughter, and she was an excellent cook, and she worked for the Red Cross. She was a nurse. I can only remember happy times. Our parents used to come to see us. They used to run a coach, I think it was once a month, and they used to come and see us. So, you know, we still had contact with them. But we just went to school in the mornings because there wasn't room at the village school for us to go full time. So that happened for quite a long time, and I think probably our schooling did suffer for a while. Yes, I can't think of any bad points at all. You know, it might sound awful to say that, you know, because I'd got lovely parents at home, but you know, it was a new world for us.
Do you remember being worried at all for the family that you left back in the Midlands?
No.
Because there was lots of bombing in Birmingham and
yeah,
so
no, I don't think we were. I don't think we found out about all that bombing and that because we didn't have newspapers to read, and no one told us. You know, that probably they didn't tell us because they didn't want us to worry. But no, we never heard anything about it. We did at one point have some bombs dropped in the river, and they did say that the salmon were on the side the next day, but how true that was, I don't know. But no, we didn't know there was a war on. Well, just perhaps chicken and 2 veg, or beef. I think, you know, they were in the know. They knew where to get, you know, farms around them. They knew where to get meat from. No, we never went hungry. And we used to get invited out quite a bit. There was some German people just lived down the lane, and they put on a pantomime and invited all the evacuees. Mind you, there weren't many evacuees left. Some of them went home as soon as there was no bombing. They all went home. So, you know, we walked a lot. We had about 1.5 miles to walk to school. There was plenty of things around the house, because so the garden was huge. There was an old car in the garden, and we spent many happy hours going to the seaside in that car. You know, the windows were all dried up. They were like a sort of plastic, and there was circles in them. You couldn't see out of them very well. And just silly little things like that come back to you at times. But I can't think of anything unhappy. And no, it was quite good. I can't remember anything bad about school. It wasn't a posh school, you know. It was outside toilets and that sort of thing. But you know, you just take it in your stride.
When you came back to join the school again in the Midlands, did you feel that you'd missed out? Were you behind with the subjects, or were you absolutely fine? No,
I don't think I was behind, but it was very difficult to come back and leave all that behind, you know, which we'd loved really. I don't think my sister did as much as I did, but no, I was quite sad to come back really, because I used to think of the things I'd missed, you know, or what would I have been doing if I'd been there. And really there's not a lot to do in Hockley in Birmingham. You know, the streets are not paved with gold or anything.
How long were you evacuated for?
3.5 years.
So quite a long time.
Yes, yes. And I've always kept in touch with, well, they've died now, of course, but always kept in touch with the woman. She got married a farmer, and went to live up in North Wales. And I spent all my school holidays there, and right up until they died, we were great friends. You know, I said the only memories I've got of the war are happy ones, and it's quite true.